Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Tuesday, May 23rd, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 252 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is one of indecision, with Vermont Governor Phil Scott, as of publication time today, having not yet announced his intentions in regards to the adult use legalization bill sitting on his desk awaiting his gubernatorial deliberation. The bill was passed out of the Vermont State Senate last week and given over to the governor, who has until tomorrow to either sign or veto it. If the governor decides to pass on taking any action on the bill, it will go into law without his signature. Regular listeners should remember the details of Vermont's bill, which allows for the cultivation, possession, sharing, and use of small amounts of marijuana, while setting up a commission to study the question of forming a commercial adult use system like Colorado or Washington State. We'll certainly track this one as it fully develops over the next day or two. West Virginia is taking the first steps towards setting up their medical marijuana program, which was passed in a somewhat surprising move by the state legislature just last month before being signed into law by Governor Jim Justice. State officials say they are in the preliminary stages of implementing things and will be releasing guidelines for growers and processors ahead of dispensaries and doctors to help the industry get started. The final rules released will govern how patients and registered caregivers will factor into things. When fully launched, the program will initially have 10 licensed growers statewide, servicing 30 dispensaries, and is expected to be up and running by summer of 2019. Our final top story of the day is a lighthearted story about a viral tweeted photo making its way around the interwebs, showing 3 U.S. senators having an informal discussion outside the U.S. Capitol. The photo was first tweeted by one of the senators in the shot, Republican Ben Sasse of Nebraska, who tweeted alongside, quote, "Holy moly, it looks like Senator Chuck Schumer and I are smoking reefer outside a wedding," unquote, which the photo does in fact look like, if you can ignore the t-shirt and gym shorts that Senator Sasse is wearing. It's stupid and silly and kind of fun, and I think is actually a decent example of how much marijuana is injecting itself into the mainstream, even as federal lawmakers resist the march towards more progressive cannabis laws. Swing over to marijuana.com to see the photo yourself. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com and on our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly talk about our email newsletter, which you should sign up for over at mjtodaydaily.com/headlines. It's the quickest and easiest way to keep up to date with all the news we cover here on the show. If you should ever miss an episode or want to follow up on a story I mentioned, you just open up your email and click the link. And because I know you don't have a lot of time to search through a mountain of extraneous text and ads, we keep the email formatting clean, simple, and to the point. Sign up for the MJ Today Daily email newsletter over at mjtodaydaily.com/headlines. That's mjtodaydaily.com/headlines. All right, time for the blitz. Leafly is reporting on a new poll conducted by Canada's Globe and Mail that finds that 62% of Canadians support or somewhat support the idea of pardoning people with past marijuana convictions on their record, with just 35% saying they were opposed or somewhat opposed to the plan. The survey was conducted among 1,000 Canadians 18 years of age and older, with a margin of error of 3.1% plus or minus. This is a good one to click over to see the rest of the results. Marijuana is factoring into a local squabble in Florida, with officials from Volusia County removing a beachside porta potty used by locals because it was allegedly also being used by construction workers to smoke pot in. The county said it will put the portable bathroom back in place once construction on a nearby motel ends and the offending construction workers move on to the next job. Locals are not happy with the decision, which leaves the next nearest accessible bathroom almost 2 miles away. New Cannabis Ventures is reporting that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has suspended trading for 2 marijuana stocks as of yesterday morning, running through June 5th, for their lack of clarity in terms of the information given to prospective investors. One of the companies, EcoScience Solutions, which trades under the symbol ESSI, issued a press release earlier this month that the SEC found lacking in depth and accuracy. The Holy Grail Company, trading under the symbol HGRL, was suspended for failing to release enough basic information about their company. I know very little about the stock market when it comes to marijuana, but what I do know is that if you do choose to dip into cannabis stocks, you need to be super careful, smart about where you get your information, and be ready to lose it all, because ultimately the stock market is really just a big gamble. Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper signed a bill into law over the weekend that protects the rights of hemp farmers to use water from federal reservoirs. Colorado farmers have been able to grow hemp since it was legalized in 2014, but federal restrictions conflating industrial hemp with adult use marijuana have made it difficult for some farmers to find enough water to irrigate hemp crops. This bill will go a long way towards remedying that. Marijuana Business Daily's chart of the week shows the various per square foot costs of getting started in wholesale marijuana cultivation. As you might well expect, the range of options are bookended by purely indoor on the high end, which runs $75 a square foot, with outdoor sun-grown holding down the cheap side of the spectrum at $10 a square foot. It's an obvious result that's nonetheless nice to have some numbers behind. I think this chart does as good a job as any of showing why marijuana is headed towards being mostly a commodity crop grown on enormous outdoor fields, measured in the thousands of acres. Leafly is nicely tracking the day-to-day progress in the trial I reported on Friday in South Dakota involving marijuana industry consultant Eric Hagen, CEO of consultancy Monarch America, who is being prosecuted for his role in helping the Philandro Santee Sioux tribe get their since-shuttered marijuana cultivation operation up and running. The trial got underway on Friday and should wrap up sometime this week. Swing over to Leafly to dive into their report on the trial. And finally for today, Tom Angel over at MassRoots picked up on an interesting quirk in grammar use from U.S. Senator Kamala Harris of California, who has made it a habit of lately tweeting out thoughts about the war on drugs using the past tense, as in, quote, "The war on drugs was bad for public safety, bad for our economy, and bad for those struggling to make ends meet," unquote. As Tom so rightly points out, the federal war on drugs is still very much being waged today, having never really stopped since it was first launched by Richard Nixon back in the 1970s. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at MJTodayDaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. Huge thanks to Shane, the latest member of the MJ Today Daily Century Club, those Patreon listeners giving at the $100 a month level and higher. Shane and his partner Chad run the company Seed, which is pronounced Seed but spelled C-E-I-D. They're a California-based company making legal marijuana extracts and concentrates. Shane joined up because he supports the work we do here on Marijuana Today Daily, and because his $100 a month in support gets him $200 a month back in ad credit to use here and on our weekly show, Marijuana Today. To join Shane and the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.